They thought locking the gate would force him to comply, but standing quietly behind rule, every law, and exactly how this HOA battle was about to end. The HOA thought one chain would stop him. They were about to learn that a lock means nothing when the rules are on your side.
This is a formal notice.
A violation? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The board has spoken.
She sold access to my pool for $300 a family. Then I pressed one button. The locksmith didn't even look guilty. He was crouched at my gate, bolt cutters in hand, snipping through a padlock I'd installed that same week. Not a lock on someone else's property, not a shared fence, not a community gate. My gate, around my pool, on my private property. I walked out holding my morning coffee and watched a stranger destroy what I'd just purchased, while he acted like I was the one who didn't belong there. Looked directly at camera. He had a work order, signed by the HOA president. Her name was Brenda Whitfield, 9 years running Sonoran Ridge Estates, and she had just sent a contractor to physically remove my lock so that any stranger in the neighborhood could swim in my backyard whenever they felt like it. What Brenda didn't know, my wife is a property attorney, and I'd just installed a commercial-grade underwater projection system that could turn my entire pool floor into a movie screen. She planned the biggest party of the summer at my pool. I let her. Then I pressed one button. To understand what Brenda stole, you need to understand what I built. My name is Garrett Colton. I've been constructing custom pools for 23 years. Infinity edges for NFL linebackers, resort installations in Sedona and Scottsdale, executive estates with swim-up bars and underwater sound systems. I've poured gunite in 4 states and tiled grottos that ended up in Architectural Digest. But I had never, not once, built a pool for myself. Every weekend went to clients. Every design sketch belonged to somebody else's dream. 3 years ago, my wife Wendy and I moved to Sonoran Ridge Estates in Chandler, Arizona. Gated subdivision, desert landscaping, terracotta roof lines stretching toward the Superstition Mountains, quiet streets lined with Palo Verde trees. The backyard was caliche dirt and a rusted chain-link fence. Wendy looked at that empty rectangle of desert and said, "Build me a resort." So I did. 14 months, every single weekend. I started excavation in January when the ground was cool enough to work. Caliche is brutal. Calcium carbonate cemented into the desert floor like nature's own concrete. The backhoe chewed through it slow, throwing white dust that settled on everything within 100 yards. By March, I was cutting travertine on the wet saw at 6 a.m., the blades screaming through stone, water spraying in a fine mist that caught the sunrise. I hand-selected every slab from a yard in Mesa, cream and walnut tones, naturally chiseled edges, no 2 pieces identical. The gunite pour happened in June, 112 degrees. We started at 4 a.m., with headlamps cutting through the dark, the pneumatic hose bucking in our hands. By noon, the shell was set. I pressed my palm into the still warm surface, felt the grit against my skin, and I knew every curve was right. Then came the details. An infinity edge on the south wall that spills into a catch basin and recirculates without a sound. A grotto waterfall built from stacked Arizona flagstone, sourced from a quarry near Payson, each piece fitted by hand, the water trickling down like a mountain creek. A swim-up bar with a built-in wine chiller and seating for 6. A heated spa separated by a raised spillway. And the crown jewel, a programmable underwater LED system that could turn the entire pool into a light show. The night I finished, Wendy walked out barefoot onto the warm travertine. The LEDs cycled slow, cobalt blue to amber to soft white. Steam curled off the spa into the cool desert night. Somewhere, a coyote called across the wash. She didn't say anything for a full minute. Then she whispered, "You built me a resort." That pool was my masterpiece. Word got around. The neighbor 2 doors down brought a 6-pack and asked for a tour. Another family came by with their daughter Lily. She squealed when the lights changed beneath her feet. That was neighborly. That was Arizona. Then, Brenda Whitfield noticed. I remember the first time I really saw her. She was leaning against our shared block wall, Gucci sunglasses perched on her nose, Heavy-set, mid-50s, blonde hair in a bun so tight it looked painful. White linen blazer over yoga pants she'd never done yoga in. 9 years as HOA president, and she wore that title like a badge from the Secret Service. She watched me rinsing the pool coping with the garden hose. Then she smiled, the kind with teeth but no warmth. "A bit much," she said, "for a man who digs holes for a living." Wendy was on the patio behind me. Her hand found mine and squeezed once, hard. That was the first sting. It wouldn't be the last. The next HOA newsletter arrived on a Thursday. Standard stuff at first. Yard of the month, trash can reminders, holiday lights deadline. I almost recycled it without reading past page 2. Then I turned to page 3. A full half-page announcement. Bordered with clip art palm trees and a cartoon sun. Community wellness amenity. Open hours. Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sunday, 10 to 5. Rules included. No glass containers. Towels required. Children under 12 must be accompanied by an adult. The address listed underneath? Mine. My house. My pool. My private property. Printed in the HOA newsletter like it was a public park. I read it 3 times because my brain flat out refused to process the audacity of what I was holding. Sunday morning, pool, families invading backyard. Sunday morning, 7:15 a.m. I'm in the kitchen making coffee. I hear the side gate latch click. I walk out and find a cinder block propping the gate wide open. 3 families already set up camp like they own the place. A kid launches himself off my grotto in a full cannonball. 6 feet of water sprays across the travertine. A woman in a neon bikini floats on a pink flamingo inflatable, earbuds in, completely oblivious. Her husband has plugged a Bluetooth speaker into my swim-up bar outlet, and Pitbull is bouncing off the block walls at a volume that could strip deck stain. And on my hand-laid travertine coping, the stone I'd cut and fitted and triple sealed, a torn bag of flamin' hot Cheetos, red chemical dust streaking across cream stone like evidence at a crime scene. The orange powder had already started staining into the pores of the sealer. Someone had used my outdoor shower. Someone had used Wendy's monogrammed birthday towel, now soaking wet and smelling like a stranger's sunscreen. I told all 3 families to leave. They gathered their things slowly, annoyed, as if I was the unreasonable one. The kid on my grotto complained to his mom that the mean man was kicking them out. She gave me a look that could curdle milk. I called Brenda that evening. "People are swimming in my pool, Brenda." "Of course they are, Garrett. It's Sunday. You listed my address as a community amenity. Because it is one. You have the nicest pool in the neighborhood. It's selfish to keep it locked up for 2 people. There's no bylaw for this." "Oh, sweetie." Her voice dropped to that patronizing register she saved for people she considered beneath her. "I am the bylaws. Learn to share, pool boy." She hung up. I stood in my kitchen with the phone still pressed to my ear, staring out the window at a stranger adjusting the jets on my heated spa. That evening, Wendy poured 2 glasses of Tempranillo. She'd heard every word through the bedroom window. She didn't interrupt, because that's not how Wendy operates. She doesn't react in the moment. She plans. "Let her keep talking," Wendy said, swirling her wine. "People like her always write their own conviction." I opened my laptop and created a new folder, labeled it Whitfield. The war had started. Brenda just didn't know I was keeping score. Within 2 weeks, the trespassing became a daily event. Different families, different days, same result. I'd come home from a job site at 5:30, truck still loaded with leftover tile, and find my backyard transformed into a neighborhood water park nobody asked me to host. Monday, a teenager left a skateboard at the bottom of the deep end. Tuesday, 3 soaking beach towels draped over Wendy's rosemary bushes, snapping stems she'd been nurturing for 2 years. Wednesday, someone cracked a handmade mosaic tile on the spa ledge, a piece of imported Italian glass I'd cut and placed by hand over 2 painstaking hours. Thursday, a broken umbrella mount, the stainless bolt sheared clean off, the whole assembly tossed behind the grotto like it was trash day, and the financial bleeding was relentless. Pool heater running 6 extra hours daily for uninvited swimmers, $400 a month in natural gas. Chemical balance for 50 extra bodies, $250 monthly in chlorine and acid. Insurance company called, liability premium increase, another $1,200 a year. Add it all up, I was hemorrhaging close to $6,000 annually to host people I never once invited. One Saturday morning, I walked outside with my coffee and found laminated signs zip-tied to my pool fence with heavy-duty cable ties. Professional looking, full color, Sonoran Ridge Community Pool, hours of operation. And right next to the gate, I genuinely wish I were making this up, a suggestion box, white painted wood, brass hinges, padlocked with a tiny decorative lock. I popped it with a flathead screwdriver, 3 slips of paper inside. One requested a diving board. One complained the water was too cold. The third, written in careful cursive on torn notebook paper, "Can we get pool noodles?" Pool noodles, for my pool, that I built with my own hands over 14 months of desert weekends. I replaced the gate lock that afternoon, heavy-duty schlage, hardened boron steel shackle, pick-resistant core. I tested it 3 times and walked away satisfied. 3 days later, I came home. The lock was gone, cut clean off. A brand new combination lock hung in its place, and the 4-digit code? Written on a sticky note taped to the fence post for anyone to see. My locksmith buddy pulled the service records. A contractor from Mesa had driven out that morning on a work order received by fax. Who authorized it? HOA president, lady named Whitfield, said it was a community gate on common property. She faxed a self-signed work order on HOA letterhead. Wendy read the authorization and the invoice that evening, set them down. Her jaw tightened in that particular way I've learned over 15 years of marriage to deeply respect. "That's criminal trespass by agency," she said, each word landing like a gavel. She directed a third party to remove your private lock using a fraudulent authorization. That's not an HOA dispute anymore, that's a crime. Next morning, 4 security cameras, hardwired, cloud recorded, 30-day backup, motion activated with infrared night vision, 1 on each corner of the pool deck. $1,800 I should never have had to spend. The footage was revelatory. Daily trespasses, property damage, unauthorized use of the spa and heater. But one clip stood above everything else. Tuesday afternoon, 2:14 p.m. I'm across town finishing a resort install in Paradise Valley. Wendy is at her law office downtown. And there, in our heated spa, sits Brenda Whitfield, alone, not hosting anyone, not performing community duties, just lounging, Gucci sunglasses on, white linen blazer folded on the chaise lounge, sipping a margarita from a stemmed glass she'd carried over from her own home. All 12 jets running, steam curling into the dry afternoon air. Head tipped back like she held the deed. She stayed 1 hour and 47 minutes, toweled off with one of our towels, slipped on her sandals, walked out without latching the gate behind her. Wendy replayed that clip 4 times. Then she set the tablet down and smiled, not frustrated, satisfied. Every single minute of footage is a gift she doesn't know she's giving us. Then the fines arrived. Certified mail, official HOA letterhead, Brenda's signature in blue ink. Notice of violation, bylaw 14.3b, obstruction of community amenity access. Fine, $500 per day until compliance is achieved. $500 a day, for the crime of not letting strangers swim in my private pool. I drove to the Maricopa County Recorder's office that same afternoon. The real CC&Rs, every covenant officially recorded with the county, went up to section 14.2. That was it. End of document. No 14.3, no subsection B, no pool provision, not a sentence, not a footnote. Here's something most HOA homeowners don't know. Under Arizona law, an HOA can only enforce covenants recorded with the county recorder. If a rule isn't in the official recorded documents, it has 0 legal weight. Period. Brenda had invented a bylaw from whole cloth, printed it on letterhead, and had been fining me $500 a day under a rule that did not exist in the state of Arizona. I made certified copies with embossed county stamps and added them to the file. But Brenda wasn't finished. She filed a complaint with the County Development Services Department, claiming my pool required commercial safety standards because it served as a community amenity. She wanted an inspection. She wanted code violations. She wanted leverage. The county inspector came out, checked everything, spent 20 thorough minutes with a measuring tape and a digital level, Then he looked up from his clipboard. "Mr. Colton, this is one of the finest residential pools I've ever inspected in Maricopa County. Everything is to code or exceeds it. This is clearly a private residential pool on private property. The complaint is unfounded." He shook my hand and left. Then Brenda mailed a letter to all 78 homes in Sonoran Ridge proposing a special assessment, $200 per household, to build a new community pool. The reason, cited in bold underlined text: one homeowner's repeated refusal to participate in community life has created an amenity gap that affects all residents. She blamed me. In writing, delivered to every family in the subdivision. The whispers started within days, cold shoulders at the mailbox, waves that weren't returned. The family who used to bring their daughter Lily to swim stopped coming entirely. Tom Wynn looked right through me at the gas station like I was invisible. 23 years I'd spent building beautiful things for other people, and my own neighbors thought I was the villain. Wendy read the special assessment letter at the kitchen table, read it once. Then she started laughing. "Garrett, she just hand-delivered written evidence of a fraudulent special assessment proposed as direct retaliation. This woman is building our case better than a paralegal." She folded the letter and slid it into the file. Wendy had a theory. She'd been watching Brenda operate for months. The fabricated bylaws, the manufactured fines, the smear campaign. None of it tracked with simple power tripping. There was too much coordination, too much risk. An ordinary control freak would have backed down after the county inspector shut her down. Brenda doubled down. She was protecting something bigger than her ego. Under Arizona law, every HOA homeowner has the legal right to inspect association financial records. Not optional, not subject to board approval. Statutory right. The association must provide records within 10 business days. Wendy sent a polite request citing the statute by number. Brenda responded 2 weeks later. Records available by scheduled appointment. $300 administrative processing fee. $300 to look at records we were legally entitled to see for free. The second request went out on Wendy's law firm letterhead. Certified mail. Statute cited by number. Penalty provisions quoted word for word. Attorney General Enforcement Authority referenced. 10-day deadline. Documents arrived on day 9. 3 banker's boxes stacked on our porch without a note. Inside, 2 years of bank statements, vendor invoices, meeting minutes on yellow legal pads, and a general ledger that looked like it had been maintained by someone who hated math. Columns didn't add up. Entries were undated. Entire months were simply missing. Wendy spread everything across the dining room table. I brought her coffee and sandwiches and stayed out of the way. For 3 full days, the table disappeared under paper. Color-coded sticky notes, highlighters in 4 colors, yellow for income, green for expenses, pink for discrepancies, orange for fraud. On the 4th morning, she called me in from the garage. "Sit down." Her voice was calm, her eyes were electric. Brenda had been personally selling seasonal pool passes to Sonoran Ridge families. For access to my pool, $300 per family per summer. 31 families paid, over 2 consecutive summers. That's $9,300 per season, $21,300 total. Amount recorded in the HOA operating account? 0. Not a penny deposited. Every dollar had vanished. The operating account showed a persistent pattern of small withdrawals. Gift cards purchased monthly at Target and Amazon, $200, $300 at a time. Fuel reimbursements written to Dale Whitfield, Brenda's husband, matching dates of his real estate open houses. Restaurant charges at Scottsdale steakhouses labeled community meeting expenses on evenings when no meetings were scheduled. Total unaccounted funds over 37 months, $52,400. Wendy pulled MLS records for 4 recent home sales in Sonoran Ridge. Every single listing prominently featured photos of my pool. Every description included exclusive community pool access. Dale was using my private pool, a pool he had no legal right to advertise, to inflate property values and close commissions. The whole picture snapped into sickening focus. Brenda controlled the HOA from the president's chair. She fabricated bylaws to create the illusion that my pool was a community amenity. She sold passes and pocketed every dollar. She fined me to keep me quiet and compliant. Dale used the fake amenity to sell homes at premium prices. Husband and wife, running a coordinated grift out of the HOA boardroom. Wendy stacked the documents into a neat pile and tapped the edge firmly against the table. We have them. All of them. Every dollar. Every lie. Wendy retained Harriet Stokes, a retired IRS auditor, 71 years old, 5'1", with the demeanor of a librarian who'd seen things that would make prosecutors flinch. She arrived with a rolling briefcase and reading glasses on a beaded chain. 4 days later, a 17-page forensic report, color-coded appendices, every missing dollar traced, every fraudulent entry flagged. Clean embezzlement, Harriet said, handing me the bound report. She wasn't even trying to hide it. A licensed surveyor GPSed our entire lot with centimeter accuracy. The certified survey confirmed it. Pool, deck, grotto, spa. Every square foot of travertine sat entirely on our private property. No easements, no shared use provisions, no common area overlap. Wendy contacted the families who'd purchased pool passes, one household at a time, patient conversations, no legal pressure, just honest questions about where their money went. 14 of the 31 families agreed to provide signed, notarized statements. Several still had the handwritten receipts Brenda had given them, index cards and scraps of paper reading, paid $300 to B. Whitfield, Sonoran Ridge Pool Access, cash only. No HOA receipt ever issued, no record in the official books. 14 families, 14 sworn accounts, 14 nails in a coffin Brenda didn't know was being built. I called Travis Jennings, an investigative reporter at the Phoenix ABC affiliate. I'd watched his 3-part series on contractor fraud the previous winter. Thorough, fair, devastating. Over coffee and huevos rancheros at a diner on Chandler Boulevard, I laid out the basics. Travis listened for 20 minutes without interrupting once. "When this goes down," he said, stirring his coffee, "I want to be there with a camera crew." Wendy filed a formal criminal complaint with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office Special Investigations Unit. She walked in carrying a 3-inch binder, tabbed, indexed, cross-referenced, containing the forensic report, all 14 witness statements, fabricated bylaws compared to recorded originals, security footage on a flash drive, and the certified property survey. Detective Elena Salazar called Wendy the next morning at 8 a.m. sharp. "Mrs. Colton, I've been doing this work for 11 years. This is the most organized complaint I have ever received from a private citizen. We are moving forward." Brenda, still blissfully, catastrophically unaware, mailed out glossy invitations for the first annual Sonoran Ridge Summer Splash. At my pool. On a date she selected without asking or notifying me in any capacity. The invitation featured a full-color, professionally composed photograph of my pool, taken from inside my yard, at water level, at golden hour. Someone had physically trespassed to capture that shot. And Dale? He stapled his real estate business card to at least 5 invitations we later recovered from sympathetic neighbors. "Whitfield Realty, your desert dream starts here." Meanwhile, in the pump room, I ran final preparations. 3 midnight tests of the underwater projection system. Every slide checked. Brightness adjusted. Resolution confirmed. The content was loaded and ready. Harriet's forensic audit. Fabricated bylaws beside the real recorded CC&Rs. Pool pass receipts from 14 families. Dale's MLS listings with my pool front and center. Bank statements with fraudulent withdrawals highlighted in pulsing red. Everything Brenda and Dale had done, rendered in vivid detail, on the floor of the very pool she had tried to claim as her own. The night before the party, Wendy and I sat on the back patio in the dark, pool still and unlit. Arizona sky fading from orange to purple. A barn owl calling from the mesquite trees across the wash. I poured 2 glasses of a Paso Robles cab we'd been saving. "You ready?" Wendy asked. I looked at the pool. My pool. 14 months of weekends. Every tile cut by hand. Every stone placed with care. 23 years of professional craft poured into one place. I've been ready since she called me pool boy. We clinked glasses. Tomorrow's forecast, 109 degrees. Perfect pool weather. June 21st, summer solstice. 109 degrees by noon. Brenda arrived at 1:30 sharp. White linen blazer, Gucci sunglasses, clipboard, megaphone. She marched through my side gate, propped open with that same cinder block, and directed setup like a 5-star event coordinator who'd confused my property with a venue she'd booked. Inflatable water slide positioned, DJ Blaze sound checking, Desert Bites taco truck parked at the curb, custom t-shirts, red hearts, I love our community pool, stacked by size on a folding table. By 3 p.m., 80-plus people in my backyard, families on lawn chairs, kids launching off the water slide, couples at the swim-up bar helping themselves to my outdoor fridge, people from neighboring subdivisions I'd never seen in my life, Brenda's megaphone cutting through the music. This is what community looks like, people. Dale working the gate like a hotel concierge, pressing business cards into every hand. Thinking about buying in the area? I'm your guy. 3:15 p.m. Travis Jennings and his crew slipped through the neighbor's side yard. Camera rolling, sound hot. Positioned near the grotto with a clear sightline. 3:20 p.m. Detective Salazar parked an unmarked sedan at the end of the street. She and a uniformed deputy walked toward the house. Badge on belt, warrant folder under arm. Nobody in the crowd noticed. 3:25 p.m. I stepped out my back door. The noise hit like a wall. Splashing, bass, laughter, kids shrieking, water slide hissing. Plain gray t-shirt and jeans, work boots, no theatrics, just me, and a wireless remote the size of a key fob in my right hand. I found Brenda at the swim-up bar, perched on a submerged stool, margarita in hand, same stemmed glass from the security footage, feet in the water like she'd poured the gunite herself. Brenda, she looked up, Gucci sunglasses reflecting my face, broad smile. Garrett, so glad you decided to join us. Isn't this wonderful? Look down. I pressed the button. The pool floor erupted with light. Sharp white projections bloomed across blue plaster, illuminating the water from below. Text, documents, numbers, evidence, glowing in high definition through 4 feet of crystal clear water. First slide. Fabricated bylaw 14.3b, next to the actual recorded CC&Rs ending at section 14.2. The word fabricated in red beside the fake rule. Second slide. Pool pass payments. 31 families. $21,300. HOA financial statement. 0. Every dollar stolen. Third slide. Dale's listings. 4 homes. My pool in every photo. Exclusive community pool access. In every description. Fourth slide. Harriet's forensic audit. $52,400 in unaccounted withdrawals. Gift cards, fuel, steakhouse dinners. Numbers glowing underwater like an accusation written in light. People stopped swimming, gathered at the edge, dripping, squinting down. Music still pounding, but nobody listening anymore. She charged us $300 for this? A man's voice. Pool pass family. His wife, hand over her mouth. Brenda's margarita glass slipped, hit the travertine edge first, shattered. Glass and lime pulp across warm stone. The crack echoed louder than the music. Those are private. You can't. Detective Salazar stepped onto the deck. Brenda Whitfield, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. You're under arrest for theft, fraud, criminal damage, and trespassing. Please step out of the pool. Her face went white. She climbed out slowly. Wet yoga pants, bare feet on travertine. The deputy produced handcuffs. Click, click. She was cuffed, in an I Love Our Community Pool t-shirt. Travis Jennings stepped forward, microphone aimed at Dale, frozen near the gate, business card still in his fist. Mr. Whitfield, Travis Jennings, Channel 15. Can you explain why your listings advertise a private pool as a community amenity? Dale dropped the cards, walked stiff-legged to his car. Business cards scattered across the driveway like confetti, at the worst party in Sonoran Ridge history. Salazar walked Brenda through the crowd. 80 people parted in silence. The only sound, DJ Blaze's speaker still playing a pop song nobody would ever hear the same way again. I stood at the pool's edge, projections still glowing beneath the water. Every lie, every stolen dollar, every fabricated rule, displayed in the very water she tried to steal. My neighbor Hank appeared beside me, beer in hand, staring down at the glowing evidence. Most beautiful thing I've ever seen in a pool, he said, And brother, I've been to Vegas. Travis Jennings led the 6 p.m. broadcast with drone footage of pool projections glowing blue-white through the water, while Brenda was escorted in handcuffs and a heartprint t-shirt. The segment ran 4 minutes. In local news, that's reserved for natural disasters and political scandals. The internet did the rest. 300,000 YouTube views in 48 hours. Regional outlets picked it up. The clip of Brenda's margarita glass shattering became a meme overnight. Someone auto-tuned her stammering and set it to a trap beat. I told Wendy I didn't watch it. I watched it twice. Brenda Whitfield pleaded guilty to reduced charges. 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service. The cosmic irony of which I will savor for the rest of my life. And $73,400 in restitution. That covered embezzled HOA funds, stolen pool pass money, and documented property damage. Dale's real estate license was suspended pending full investigation. Whitfield Realty closed its doors 6 weeks later. The office on Ray Road sat dark and empty. A for lease sign where Dale's smiling headshot used to greet traffic. The lien against our property, vacated. Every fabricated fine, voided. Bylaw 14.3b, formally expunged. Easy, since it never legally existed in the first place. Sonoran Ridge held a special election in August. New board, term limits, mandatory annual audits by an independent CPA, full financial transparency with quarterly reports mailed to every household. The governance this neighborhood should have had from the very beginning. Neighbors visited in the weeks that followed. Some brought food, some brought wine. Most brought something harder to carry. The admission that they'd believed Brenda without asking questions. Carlos stood on my porch with a bottle of Blanton's bourbon, eyes a little red around the edges. I should have said something sooner. I should have asked you. I'm sorry, man. You're saying it now, I told him. That counts. Come on in. They offered me the HOA presidency twice. I declined both times. I build pools. I don't run neighborhoods. But Wendy had a better idea. First Sunday of every month, Open Swim Sunday. Free. No passes, no fees, no suggestion box. I fire up the grill. Wendy sets up the bar with fresh lemonade and cold beer. Carlos brings the bourbon. The Nguyen's bring spring rolls. Kids line up to jump off the grotto. The neighbors come because they want to, because they're genuinely invited. Because that's what community actually looks like when nobody is running it as a grift. And then there's one more thing. Wendy and I established the Colton Family Community Fund that fall. We partnered with the Chandler Parks Department to offer free swimming lessons to underserved kids in the area. First class, 12 children. 8 had never been in a pool before in their lives. I taught the first session myself, standing in the shallow end, water to my waist, helping small, nervous hands learn to float. At the end of class, a 9-year-old named Theo paddled over to me. He'd been terrified at the start, gripping the wall, eyes wide, refusing to let go. By the final 15 minutes, he was floating on his back, arms spread, staring up at the Arizona sky. "Mr. Colton," he said, water dripping off his chin, grinning wide enough to count every tooth. "I'm not scared of the water anymore." I looked at that kid. I looked at my pool, my masterpiece. 14 months of weekends, built with my own 2 hands, the thing Brenda Whitfield tried to steal and turn into a grift. And I thought, this is what it was always for. Brenda Whitfield ran her neighborhood like a personal ATM for 9 years. She invented bylaws, sold access to property she didn't own, pocketed over $50,000, while her husband used the scam to sell houses. She thought the pool boy was just a soft target. What made Garrett and Wendy different wasn't anger, it was discipline. They documented every incident, filed every receipt, let Brenda keep escalating while they built a case, brick by brick. When the moment came, they didn't scream. They pressed a button and let the evidence speak for itself, glowing from underwater. At the party she threw on their property. The lesson? If someone is abusing power over you, your best weapon is a paper trail. Record everything. Save everything. Let them dig their own grave while you stack the proof. Patience isn't passive. Patience is strategy.